Alright, now for this recording, I'm going to do a series of poems about death. The first poem will be Bukowski's Hell is a Lonely Place. It's not exactly one of my favorite poems. Well, yeah, it's not one of my favorite poems necessarily, and it's not one of the first ones I think about from Bukowski, but when I was thinking about death in Bukowski, it was the first one I kind of thought about where death is involved. So, here we go. Hell is a Lonely Place. Written by Charles Bukowski. Performed by Greg Huffman. He was 65. His wife was 66. Had Alzheimer's disease. He had cancer of the mouth. There were operations, radiation treatments, which decayed the bones in his jaw, which then had to be wired. Daily, he put his wife in rubber diapers like a baby. Unable to drive in his condition, he had to take a taxi to the medical center, had difficulty speaking, had to write the directions down. On his last visit, they informed him there would be another operation, a bit more left cheek, and a bit more tongue. When he returned, he changed his wife's diapers, put on the TV dinners, watched the evening news, then went to the bedroom, got the gun, put it to her temple, fired. She fell to the left. He sat upon the couch, put the gun into his mouth, pulled the trigger. The shots didn't arouse the neighbors. Later, the burning TV dinners did. Somebody arrived, pushed the door open, saw it. Soon, the police arrived and went through their routine, found some items, a closed savings account, and a checkbook with a balance of $1.14. Suicide, they deduced. In 3 weeks, there were 2 new tenants, a computer engineer named Ross and his wife Anatana, who studied ballet. They looked like another upwardly mobile pair. Alright, now onto the second poem. Now this one actually is in contention. It may be my favorite poem, or if it's not, these dogs will shut the fuck up. Alright, so anyway, it may be one of my favorite. Well, it definitely is one of my favorites. I haven't thought about ranking them, but it's Aubade by Philip Larkin, and again, uh, spoken by Greg Huffman. I work all day and get half drunk at night. Waking at 4 to soundless dark, I stare. In time, the curtain edges will grow light. Till then, I see what's really always there. Unresting death, a whole day nearer now. Making all thought impossible, but how? And where and when I shall myself die, arid interrogation, yet the dread of dying and being dead flashes afresh to hold and horrify. The mind blinks at the glare, not in remorse, the good not done, the love not given, time torn off unused, nor wretchedly because and only life can take so long to climb, clear of its wrong beginnings and may never, but at the total emptiness forever, the sure extinction that we travel to, and shall be lost in always, not to be here, not to be anywhere, and soon nothing more terrible, nothing more true. This is a special way of being afraid. No trick dispels. Religion used to try. That vast, moth-eaten, musical brocade, created to pretend we never die. And specious stuff that says no rational being can fear a thing it will not feel, not seeing that this is what we fear. No sight, no sound, no touch or taste or smell, nothing to think with, nothing to love or link with, the anesthetic from which none come round. And so it stays just on the edge of vision, a small unfocused blur, a standing chill that slows each impulse down to indecision. Most things may never happen. This one will, and the realization of it rages out. In furnace fear, when we are caught without people or drink. Courage is no good. It means not scaring others. Being brave lets no one off the grave. Death is no different wind it than withstood. Slowly, light strengthens, and the room takes shape. It stands plain as a wardrobe, what we know, have always known, know that we can't escape, yet can't escape, can't yet accept. One side will have to go. Meanwhile, telephones crouch, getting ready to ring, and locked up offices, and all the uncaring, intricate, rented world begins to rouse. The sky is white as clay, with no sun. Work has to be done. Postmen, like doctors, go from house to house. While reading the last one, I was reminded of something I read in Michel de Montaigne. I was trying to look it up, but it didn't quite translate the same. I saw what it probably was translated from. I would imagine it was the Donald Frame translations that had it the way I read it. And I think it goes something like, "Did you never think you would arrive at where you never ceased going?" And I got a similar quote to that from some web page, but I think it had a different, sort of slightly different translation that didn't quite ring the same way. But yeah, I was thinking about Michel de Montaigne, but he doesn't necessarily have any poems about death. So the third poem is Dulce et Decorum Est by Wilfred Owen. And this I actually encountered recently. There was, what was that movie that came out recently? The King's Man. It's like basically the third Kingsman movie, and it even, I think it referenced it a little bit early. I was like, oh, are they referencing Wilfred Owen? I think they showed a picture that kind of looked like him or something. And eventually they performed the poem, or at least part of it. They might have performed the whole thing. I can't remember, but I thought it was really cool at the time. They made a few interesting references in that movie that are a little bit subtle in it, and some people wouldn't understand. Um, so anyway, here goes the poem. Dulce et Decorum Est by Wilfred Owen. Performed by Greg Huffman. Bent double, like old beggars under sacks, knock-kneed, coughing like hags, we cursed through sludge, till on the haunting flares we turned our backs, and towards our distant rest began to trudge. Men marched asleep. Many had lost their boots, but limped on, bloodshot. All went lame, all blind, drunk with fatigue, deaf even to the hoots of gas shells dropping softly behind. Gas, gas, quick, boys! An ecstasy of fumbling, fitting the clumsy helmets just in time, but someone still was yelling out and stumbling, and floundering like a man in fire or lime. Dim through the misty panes and thick green light, as under a green sea, I saw him drowning. In all my dreams, before my helpless sight, he plunges at me, guttering, choking, drowning. If, in some smothering dreams, you too could pace behind the wagon that we flung him in, and watch the white eyes writhing in his hanging face, like a devil sick of sin. If you could hear at every jolt the blood come gargling from the froth-corrupted lungs, obscene as cancer, bitter as the cud, of vile, incurable sores on innocent tongues, my friend, you would not tell with such high zest the children ardent for some desperate glory, the old lie, dulce et decorum est propitiamore. And that ends the series of poems. Now, basically, that means it is the saying means it's sweet to die. Basically, it's sweet to die for one's country. Um, Wilfred Owen. Not that I know a ton about him. I'm not like a specialist on even poetry, but he was a wartime poet of shit. Is it? Yeah, it's World War One. I'm pretty sure. Um, but he also, at the time, I do know there was another more famous poet than him for a while, Siegfried Sassoon, I believe was his name, and he was now like they eventually met, and Wilfred Owen overtook him. I think is the most popular poet of war, which I think is interesting. Um, yeah, so I'll throw in a bonus one just because this is the only poem I can always remember by heart. He goes something, and then watch me fuck it up. No. Death has this much to be said for it. You don't have to get out of bed for it. Wherever you happen to be, they bring it to you for free. Boom. That's a Kingsley Amis poem. I don't know if that's a name or anything. It's just short, so I don't want to do it its own thing. You know, just 4 lines. But Kingsley Amis is actually the father of one of my favorite authors, which is Martin Amis, and I highly recommend his book, Time's Arrow. I read that again actually recently for the second time. It's the only book I think I've read twice, not counting reading something that I've listened to on audio. But yeah, it's the only book I've read twice because it's good, but it's also just interesting gimmick. But anyway, that's enough about death for today. I just find it an interesting topic, so I figured I'd do my second series of poems on that. Anyway, signing off now.